It's always fun to share a fun fact. And while the presentation's getting set up, although I'm not going to be talking about Plug and Play specifically too much, Plug and Play also happens to be a family business, and I happen to be a part of a family business, so family even more intertwined. But if anyone's interested more in the Plug and Play story specifically, happy to give you that individual story after the talk. So I'll talk more specifically about our health program as well as some of the trends in the healthcare space. But essentially at Plug and Play, we're an early stage investor. We run these innovation programs across 14 different industries with about 250 corporate partners. And we're a matchmaker, so we match startups to corporates as well as startups to VCs, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. We run these 14 tracks, so I'm responsible for our healthcare program globally, where we work with both pharma, providers, and industry experts that I'll go into a little bit more detail about. But what we see is a lot of overlap between, healthcare, insurtech, supply chain, the different topics that we run across these 14 industries. And we do a lot of events to bring together these different stakeholders across the industries. For health, we currently cover healthcare in 4 locations. So here in Silicon Valley and Sunnyvale, we started that program in 2015. We launched a program in Cleveland in partnership with the Cleveland Clinic, University Hospitals, Jumpstart, Philips Healthcare, and several other partners there locally. And then we have a program in Munich that we launched about 2 weeks ago with Roche Diagnostics. And program in China that's been soft launched in June of this year, and that's where we'll be covering activities and events there as well. So essentially our selection process, which will go more specifically into the trends in telehealth, that we see, we typically are working with our corporate partners to identify the technology gaps and interest areas. And telehealth is one that comes up, for pharma, for providers, for payers, for everyone involved. And so essentially we bake those interest areas into our call to application. We're reviewing anywhere between 500 to 1,000 startups per location. We bring it down to the top 100 startups in those industries, and we shortlist it to that. And then our corporate partners are picking the top 30 startups to review in person. So we get together in a similar room like this, hear about 30 pitches, and we pick about 10 to 20 startups to participate in a 3-month program. The corporations are interested in piloting, licensing, or strategically investing in these startups, and we run a 3-month, no strings attached program where we don't take any equity from the startup. They participate in the program and meet with the corporates that are involved. So that's the whole process that we go through. These are our partners across the healthcare industry. So our pharma partners, our hospital systems, and more industry-specific partners. And this is across our 4 locations globally. We see definitely a lot of folks interested in patient data collection, behavioral health, and global adoption across these industries. And a lot of our partners are trying to solve, similar core problems that they all have. And within telehealth, we would bucket these into consumer engagement, big data and analytics, and disease management. And those are where our startups will fall into as well. And overall, there's a lot of intersection that takes place here. And the startups are ultimately the solutions that we provide to our corporate partners that are solving these, that have these problems that they're looking at. So for us, we have a lot of experience seeing startups present to corporate. So some of my advice will come both pitching to enterprise, but also pitching to investors. And by show of hands, how many startups are in the room? Great. I think, for us, we host a lot of what we call deal flow sessions where we invite startups to come and present to corporates. So if you're a startup in the room and you get invited to, let's say, come and present to the CEO of Novartis, like next week, which we have visiting, do your homework, read about the companies. We share as much information as we can about the visit, but read about the bios, read about them on social media, see what they're involved in, find out fun facts about them through the internet. As far as the specifics on your business model, have like a clear value proposition and clear, ROI, and isolate what your own value is. With some of these, I have, fun stories, but I don't think I have much time to share them. I can share them offline. Maintaining good relationships with everyone. Don't burn bridges. If you're, working with an individual within a corporation, don't go around them and ping like multiple people within the same organization. Especially if that person is quite engaged. So you never know how that person can benefit you down the road. Treat all business units like they're your own clients. So that goes a little similar to the previous advice. But if you land a pilot with one business unit, work with that business unit and then expand into additional areas. As far as the challenges in telehealth investing, health systems are not bearing the full risk and not reaping an ROI yet, but consumers are quite interested in telehealth. I'm quite interested to know how many people here have engaged with a telehealth solution by raise of hands. Okay, not that many, but the numbers will go up. Adoption definitely of virtual visits is not up there, especially with kind of the numbers of hands that were raised here in the room. Definitely it's a crowded space from an investor perspective, and that's kind of where the telehealth piece is tired. But don't be afraid to get granular and show how you're different from some of the other companies that are out there. So for us, we've made a few bets in the telehealth space. So Giant, a company that we invested in their seed round. They've participated in multiple of the accelerators as well, but they're basically a health assistant. They started in focusing on Zika virus and were able to kind of have a clear value proposition there and then expand into other areas. They've been able to land pilots both with the health systems as well as the pharma partners, and they really made their value kind of crystal clear to the different stakeholders that they had involved within their company. Be Well, as well, a company that participated in our batch 5 in Silicon Valley. They have a app that makes consumers basically have access to their own health data and personalized care plans and services, and they essentially also worked with the consumer as well as the providers to build out their solution and have kind of the clear value to the partners that they're engaged with. And with that, I think that's all that I have as far as our case studies and stories that I had to share, but looking forward to more questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you so much.